February 24, 2022 nullified all the storytellers about how Putin is afraid and does not dare to attack, and that this is a war of Putin, and not of his people, who turned out to be a rabble of criminal scumbags. Massacres of civilians and excessive cruelty, rampant looting and constant whining about insufficient provision have revealed to the world a horde of scum worthy of their bald leader. The liberal opposition also showed itself, putting on an imperial mask of hypocrisy and rushing to justify the good Russians, who not all are like that, therefore one cannot fit everyone. But war smears everyone with blood, a bullet is a fool, and a bomb is an idiot, and since every Ukrainian has become a target for the mobilized population of the empire, this population is also to blame for everything. Fully, with women, children and old people. And how did you want? These are the laws of the special operation started by your leaders, which they did not dare to call a war. The sanctions that fell on Russia threw it back somewhere in the 80s. True, some remnants of the former luxury are still observed, but this is not for long. It caves so fast that the darkest shadows like the ghoul Prigozhin come to life, which fills with vitality every day, literally pumping out the blood from the prisoners recruited for roasting. In 2022, Putin has become an absolute pariah. Even China and India turned away from him. As a result, the Führer did not dare to fly to the G20 summit in Indonesia, later cancelling all his traditional direct lines and messages, and even a publicized visit to Uralvagonzavad. And the summit of the heads of the CIS member states may even turn out to be a farewell. So Putin is left alone with his potato baboon, who plays the role of an unpredictable eccentric cook. But the main event of the year is a state secret that has become the property of the whole world about the true state of the Russian army, which was considered to be the second army of the world. It quickly became clear that it was not capable of combat and demoralized, and its technical equipment was no good, and that such an army can and should be defeated. The only thing Putin and his accomplices have up their sleeves is the nuclear card they have been waving all this year as the last argument. But the world community has clearly warned that the attempt to use nuclear weapons will be the last thing the Kremlin's adventurers will try to do. Russia has been recognized by the EU as a state sponsor of terrorism, and only the United States is still slowing down in this matter, because they do not want to receive a break in diplomatic relations in return. But such a gap may follow after the exclusion of the Russian Federation from the UN, which has long been paralyzed as an organization and needs deep reform. The outgoing year has been sobering and disturbing, but the aggressor himself began to miss the blows, as Medvedev squealed that a strike on Crimea would trigger a nuclear response in Kyiv, and after the congratulatory clap on the Kerch Bridge, no apocalypse happened. As well as after the attack on military airfields near Saratov and Ryazan, and the cannibals, having received soup, began to discuss their leaky air defense system. The presence in Ukraine of drones capable of flying to a depth of 1,000 kilometers completely changes the nature of this war, which initially seemed unpunished to the Russians. A whisper went through the cave about possible congratulatory arrivals in Moscow and other large cities, and if the inhabitants of the Belgrade and Kursk regions have already become accustomed to sirens, then for Muscovites it will be invigorating music, captivating the innocent mice into bomb shelters. In the meantime, Putin is once again changing command at the front. General Kozlovlev, who was appointed commander of the Luhansk group only 3 months ago, urgently turns over his affairs to General Nikiforov. By the way, it was Nikiforov who once participated in the attack on Kyiv. In the meantime, the generals are changing underwear. Liman, Svyatogorsk, Kupiansk, Izium, Volchansk, Balaklia and many villages around them have already returned to Ukraine. Next year may become the year of the liberation of the whole of Ukraine from the rashest invasion, including Crimea. It is the return of Crimea that will be the final chord that observers are talking about with a breath today. If Putin decides to use nuclear weapons, Russia will be destroyed both as a state and as a country. It is waiting for a massive blow with further fragmentation and external control of territories. If she does not dare, then she will be able to stink in her cave for some time, paying reparations for decades and slowly rotting from the inside, in order to eventually fall apart anyway. But that will be later. In the meantime, NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg says, the supply of weapons to Ukraine is the shortest path to peace. And you can't argue with that. A lasting peace with a tribe of cannibals can only be based on their fear of receiving an all-destroying blow of retribution. Let there be peace.